What's up YouTube? This is Redstone 101. Wanted to do a quick video on a firearm that I just purchased. This isn't on my Burner or my Super 73, but this is something that I've been looking at for quite some time now, for the last, well, I think about a year now. And I've been debating on whether or not to get it. It's called the S333 Thunderstruck by Standard Manufacturing. This gun I was just intrigued with because it's a revolver that fires 2 rounds of 22 mag at the same time. It actually has 2 barrels, which is, I mean, that is just so cool. I just thought that was wow, you know. And for some reason, this is going to sound weird, I liked the way it looked. I thought it had that kind of a futuristic look to it. I like the short barrel. I like the way just the whole ergonomics are. I mean, I thought it was just really cool. So wanted to talk about a couple of things about the revolver. I got it about a week ago, and I took it to the range, and like I said, I was really hyped about getting it. I was excited. I was like, wow, I can't wait to shoot it. Went to the range and shot it for the first time. Recoil is snappy, but you know, it's not unbearable. It's nothing like a 357 or anything like that, or else even I would say a 9mm or else a 38 plus P. I mean, it's snappy, but it's controllable. But I noticed that this long trigger here, every time I would use these 2 fingers, it takes 2 fingers to pull this trigger. So every time I would take these 2 fingers to bring back, to pull that heavy trigger there, this finger right here, because of this long trigger here, would come down past these 2 fingers, and as I'm pulling back, would hit my 3rd finger there. And I'd actually have to pull it back a little bit more to get it past it. And it was just, wasn't the most comfortable to shoot. So I got to thinking, what can I do to make that better? Alright, so let me show you what I did. Okay? Always make sure your firearms are unloaded when you're handling them. I was carrying it, and that's why it was loaded, but as you can see now, it's not loaded. Okay? What I did to make this work better for me, turn this around here. If you notice my trigger guard and my trigger here. Now let's look at the original again. Notice how it extends a little bit more on the original. What I did to make this work for me, because I didn't want to get rid of the gun. To me, this is a collector's item. I'd have no problem carrying this as a backup gun, or even a EDC, everyday carry. It's got 8 rounds of 22 mag, 2 rounds at one time. Dude, I think that is really cool. And I mean, that would be enough to, in a self-defense situation, to get the job done. At least that's my opinion. But anyway, what I did, so I took a Dremel and I cut just the tip off of here, and also the tip off of the trigger guard. So now, when I pull the trigger back, it's not hitting this 3rd finger, but I still have more than enough real estate to get my finger on that 2nd part of the trigger. And granted, it's not a target trigger still. It's still a very heavy trigger pull. I'm going to pull it once. I normally don't dry fire, but I'm going to do this once again. It's unloaded. But now when I pull the trigger, oh, and I had to adjust the way that I pull the trigger. I actually have to use this part of my finger, not the tips, but this part of my finger to pull it. It's more comfortable. So if I pull the trigger now, I clear that 3rd finger with no problem. I don't know if anyone else was having this problem, but that's what I did to solve that for me. And then I took some sandpaper, sanded it down. I used a Dremel first and sanded it down, got it real smooth. Used some real fine sandpaper, about 220 20 grit or something like that. Sanded it down, took a little black paint, and you can't even tell that it's been modified. So anyway, that worked for me. I don't know if this will void your warranty, but this gun is extremely well made. I'm not worried about that. Again, I don't know if anyone else was having that problem, but that's a problem that I was having, and that solved that the issue for me. Now, when I did that, I did have to change up my holster. When I purchased this gun, I purchased the holster with it. Got a great deal. So what I did, if you notice the trigger guard here, it's long, okay, or wide, or whatever you want to say. Now, the holster is designed to fit that trigger guard. So when I shortened the trigger guard, it was wobbly in the holster. So what I did is I took a piece of foam rubber, glued it on the inside of my holster here. So now when I put the firearm in, clamp it up, it's really secure, really snug now. So it takes up that extra room from when I cut the trigger guard and the trigger down. So now it works perfectly. So anyway, did that, painted it. Most people, if you didn't know, you wouldn't even know that I did that. So again, this is just something, made it more comfortable for me to shoot. It didn't mess with any of the internals, the mechanism, or what have you. And this trigger is much better now to me. Okay? Now that's one thing I did. Now, the other thing I noticed I didn't particularly care for about this firearm, and it wasn't until I went to the range to shoot it, I don't like the grip. Now, if you look at the way the grip is here, it's angling outward from the trigger. The trigger is going more inward, the grip is going more outward. So I felt when I would shoot it, it felt like I was reaching really far because this part of my hand is on this part of the grip. It felt like I was reaching really far up to pull that trigger. Okay? So I thought that grip's not going to work for me. Okay? It just felt awkward, and I didn't feel like I really had a firm grip on the grip. Okay? So because these fingers are pulling the trigger, these two fingers are holding the grip with this thumb here. So I didn't feel a real secure grip. Even when I used my support hand, it didn't feel good to me. Okay, so I thought I got to do something about that grip because I'm not getting rid of the gun. I like the firearm. If nothing else, it's just going in my collection. If I never carry it, it's still going to be a piece that I'm going to collect because it's got 2 barrels. It's a revolver that shoots 2 rounds at one time. I mean, that was just something I couldn't pass up. So I thought I got to change up that grip. Now, I know they don't make a replacement grip for it, so I thought, what can I do? Okay? All right. So, first thing I thought about, foam. Got a piece of foam rubber. I cut it to size so I could put the foam rubber right in front of the grip here. So I wanted to take this grip and extend it more towards the trigger so that it will come down almost kind of like almost like a cowboy gun, you know, a 6-shooter, where the grip kind of curves in a little bit. But anyway, so I took some foam, cut it so that it would fit right on the front here, not on the sides, but right on the front here. Then took some electrical tape. You use what you got, right? I mean, hey, took some electrical tape, and I took the foam, and I took the electrical tape, and I put it on the front. Well, I taped it to the front of the grip, so it came out like that a little bit more. Now, once that was done, I said, well, it feels a lot better, and it did. It felt like I had a better grip on the gun. But, you know, electrical tape is kind of smooth, and, you know, it can be a little slippery. So then what I did, I went out and I purchased a Hogue grip. Now this is a whole grip, a slip-on for a medium to a large size handgun. So I purchased that. I took this, put it in the oven. Some people, they boil them a little bit, but I put mine in the oven at about 350 degrees for about, not even a good minute, okay? Just enough to get it pliable, but not so much that it was melting, okay? So I did that to make it pliable. I took that grip, slipped it up on, okay, I took the sleeve, slipped it on the grip here, and granted, I had to work it on there. I took the tape that was on here, I put a little Vaseline to make it a little slippery, and slipped the grip up there, and this is the finished product. Now to me, that just feels much better when I hold it. And most people, if you saw this, you wouldn't even know that I modified it. Here's a look at the back. Look at the front. Well, the other side. And there's a look of the front. And mine has the finger grooves here too. Now this, when I hold it, since it's now coming out more towards the trigger, and I have those two fingers on it, let me show you, those two fingers, it just feels much firmer. And plus with this grip here, it's tacky, so it's not smooth. I have a much better grip on the gun, and it feels more controllable. And to me, and if you look here, you can see where I put the foam there and the electrical tape. You can barely see it, but that worked for me. Because like I said, I did not want to get rid of the firearm. I like the firearm, I like the concept of it, but I didn't like the way it felt. This now feels it feels better. It feels like it's not going to pop out of my hand if I fire a round. It just feels better. This is something that I did for me. So anyway, this is my S333 custom job on my Thunderstruck. Okay? And let me tell you something about this gun here too. A lot of people, they kind of look at this gun as why would somebody make a gun like that? Who wants something like that for self-defense? Well, I look at this gun the same way I would look at a Derringer. Now back in the day, people used two-shot Derringers for self-defense and had great results. It worked. You knew you had two shots, okay? And for the most part, you weren't going to have any jams like a semi-auto. The semi-autos can jam if you don't hold them the right way. You didn't have a cylinder that was rotating. They were very simple to use, okay? When I see this firearm here, I think of a Derringer. That's a revolver. In other words, you have, instead of two shots, you have four shots. To me, that's adequate for self-defense. We're not talking about going to war or something like that, but we're talking about for basic self-defense. A couple of rounds of 22 mag would definitely get the job done, would definitely deter or subdue an attacker. You put the rounds in the right place, good shot placement, this will do the job. And if nothing else, the sound of this thing, I didn't talk about, this thing is loud. When you pull that hammer back, because it's activating, when you pull the trigger back, it's activating two hammers. Those two hammers are hitting two 22 mags at the same time. Thunderstruck is a very good name because it sounds like thunder when you shoot this bad boy. It is loud. That said, I would have no problem using this as an everyday carry. There are people to this day that carry a Bonsarm Derringer, which is a two-shot Derringer for self-defense. And that works for them. You got to do what's best for you. But to me, I see this as a great self-defense weapon. Now, they say that you shouldn't use it any more than, let's say, 3 yards. I'm saying 10 feet. To me, that's adequate for self-defense. Most self-defense encounters happen within room distance. As I said before, No criminal wants to say, hey, I'm 50 feet away from you. I'm coming to get you. Stay right there. No. Criminals try to sneak up on you, try to get as close as possible so that they can intimidate you and get the upper hand. Room distance. Okay? So, this at room distance would be more than adequate. I would even say a good gun to keep in your car. Although remember, this thing is loud. When you shoot it, it's going to ring your bell as well as theirs, meaning your ears are going to be ringing. But again, as a CQC, close quarter combat firearm self-defense tool, I think this would work just great. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. This is my S333 Thunderstruck from Standard Manufacturing. I like it. Can't speak for anybody else, but I like it. If nothing else, the cool factor. I mean, to me, that's cool. That is so cool. And now with my trigger job, you might say, and my custom grip on here, hey, this is a keeper. Anyway, this is Red Zone 101. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope this review was helpful. Stay tuned for more content. On that note, the number one thing you can do for self-defense is be aware of your surroundings. I mean, it doesn't matter what equipment you have with you. If you don't see an attack coming, they've got the upper hand, okay? But if you know that there's an attack coming, you have a chance to either get to safety or else prepare yourself to defend yourself. So on that note, thanks again for watching. Everyone stay safe out there. Peace.